Hello there. Thank you for joining us again on another edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Today on the Hangout, Customs suspends import duties on old vehicles. Senate rejects Magu again as EFCC boss. And later on the program, energy companies in cold war over unused 8,700 megawatts of electricity. Joining me are Yomi Olowofe, Waid Bakari and Adekunle Yusuf. Journalist Hangout starts now. Yeah, good to have you join us. Last December, the Senate rejected Ibrahim Magu as the substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. It said Magu was indicted in a report by the Department for State Services for being corrupt. But a few weeks later, it was revealed that the DSS submitted two contradictory reports about Magu and most of the corruption allegations were false. In January, President Buhari resubmitted Magu's name for confirmation after an investigation cleared him. Only yesterday, the DSS wrote to the Senate again and declared Magu unfit to be the chairman of the anti-corruption agency. Earlier today, the Senate rejected Magu again, but there are serious questions to be asked here. Did President Buhari lie to Nigerians when he said his investigation cleared Magu of the corruption allegations? Are both the EFCC and DSS not reporting to the president? What really is going on? These are some of the questions that we'll be turning over in our minds and deliberating on Journalist Hangout today. But before we start the discussion, let's take a peek into what happened at the floor of the Senate today.
Paragraph 14. Page 5. Page 5, paragraph 14.
The last page.
In the light of the foregoing, Magu has failed the integrity test and will eventually constitute a liability to the anti-corruption drive of the present administration. Perception is very important. And this issue of integrity is that they said Umar Muhammad, Air Commodore, whom I do not personally know, is a dubious personality. And this report, therefore, tends to show that your friendship with this Umar Muhammad, therefore, indicates that your integrity is also in question. You have now responded to that matter, and in my mind, as a senator, I believe that you need to respond to this issue. Who is Umar Muhammad?
There were two of such reports submitted to this office by the same law enforcement agency. Two different reports, the same day, about the same people. That goes to tell you the credibility of such an institution. Yes. 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 How can you submit two different reports on the same matter, with the same date? The same date. My relationship with Air Commodore Umar Mohammed, retired. I didn't know him from Adam. I don't know him. Until we were appointed as members of the Armed Forces Investigation Panel. And I said, sir, that house, the house I am staying, actually belonged to Mrs. Dora Akunyele, late Dora Akunyele. After the burial visit, her son was staying in that house. But her son was resident in the US. So the son was looking for money to go back to the US. That was how the house was got. It was rented.
So there, the acting EFCC chair, Ibrahim Magu, on the floor of the Senate, trying to make a case for himself, trying to clear his name of the allegations contained in the DSS report, while the Senate members drilled in. Welcome, gentlemen. To my far right, I have Yomi Olomofe. You're welcome to the program. I also have Wahid Bakare following. And to my extreme left, I have Adekunle Yusuf. Now, how did you view proceedings at the floor of the Senate? Let me start with Adekunle.
I think it's more of the same. When you compare what happened today and what happened, I think, last December, when the Senate denied this same man the opportunity to defend himself, you will see that there is a clear gang-up. You will see the handwriting on the wall that there were some principalities within the Senate that at all costs, this man will not be made the EFCC chairman. And the reasons are not eating to Nigerians. Forget what they called report of DSS and whatever. Whether the report of DSS or not the report of DSS, what we see now is that there are conflicting signals about who is in charge of affairs of Nigeria. I'm so sad as a fan of President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm sad that all this is happening and it seems to be helpless. I'm sorry to use that word. It looks helpless in the scenario because after Magu's case was thrown out last December, there was a letter by President Muhammadu Buhari. I think he sent it to the Senate where he said that his own investigation had cleared Magu, and I think there were other names like the SGF and some other. Does he mean the president of Nigeria doesn't know what he's doing or what he's saying? And that an appointee of the same president is over. Please, there are a lot of conflicting signals that as a fan of the president, I have always thought he's in charge of Nigeria. But some of the events I see now, are forcing me to have a rethink.
Now, Wahid, Adekunle says that it's a gang-up, and the popular view is that Magu has ruffled a lot of feathers, even as acting chair. Do you agree that it's a gang-up?
Of course, absolutely. There's no doubt about it, because if you look at the precedent in the past, the normal thing is that before you can talk of security vetting, you cannot talk of security vetting after somebody has been appointed and has been in that acting capacity for about 8 months. The ideal thing is that you ought to have done whatever investigation you want to do and be sure that the person has no skeleton in his or her cupboard. At that point, once you are sure that the person has no skeleton in his or her cupboard, it is at that point that you can now forward the name to the National Assembly, so that by the time the person is appearing before the National Assembly, it becomes a done deal. So
whatever investigations ought to have been carried out well before he even became acting chair.
Why are you not? So because of that, it's obvious that they have made up their mind that as long as the president continues to present the same person, they will also continue to reject him. And I foresee a situation whereby even if the president go ahead to represent him, we are still going to have the same scenario. Nothing will change. Nothing will change, I'm very sure.
Now, key questions that we asked. Is it not the same DSS and EFCC that report to the president? How come the president's own investigation cleared Magu, yet we had another DSS report sent to the Senate again today? It's conflicting. What are your thoughts,
Yes,
Yomi?
I think really and truly, it's unfortunate the junction where we have found ourselves. This needless tussle between a cabal in the presidency and the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria over an appointment. To my mind, the onus of proof of incompetence lie with the Senate. And I don't think, from the clip we just saw, I don't think they have come forth with anything different from what they did in December. I mean, at the last time the Magu was presented. So for me, I think Magu's confirmation probably is going to signal the death knell for so very many number of persons in that Senate. And because of this, they had also waited patiently up until now when their own impute is required to hit back. Magu, since his appointment, has demonstrated an unusual courage to take on otherwise sacred cows. And if you do this, you must definitely expect some reprisal.
You said it will sound the death knell on some members of the National
Exactly.
Assembly.
So very many.
So
so
will Magu become more powerful than he is as acting boss when he becomes, if he becomes
of course, you know that when you are when you are
chair.
substantively in charge, the will, the drive is higher than when you know that you're still under probation and your ultimate confirmation is neither here nor 50-50 down the line. So when he becomes effectively, when he becomes the substantive chair of EFCC, I see him going out a lot more with a lot more aggression, pursuing especially some of the matters that are subsisting. We all know that the Senate president has matters. We all know that quite a number of them in the Senate have one or two things going. And those are the ones we have seen. How about the ones that we are yet to see? I mean, no Nigerian is deceived about even the integrity of nearly every member of this current National Assembly. So for me, I have said to people outside of this program that we are really in a situation where it's best seen as being between the devil and the deep blue sea. If Magu is not clean, or he has integrity issues, integrity baggages, our senators, how many of them do not? So for me, really, I just see it as an undue and needless process that Nigerians are being made to go through. And like I always say on this program, when some of these gladiators, when they take themselves on, it is the masses that suffers for it. It is the cause. Now, the cause here now being the fight against corruption. Now, with all of these distractions going on, Magu on his own does not appear to me as ready to say, okay, so be it. If you don't want to confirm me, so be it. Put somebody else. He also, as a Nigerian, he believes that he's good for that job, and therefore, he's putting himself forward. The Senate are of the opinion that he is compromised. The degree of his compromise, however, the man has come out to say that he doesn't know Commodore retired Umar Mohammed, and that he has no relationship with him. I think maybe now the Senate...
But that's his word against ours or the generality of the public. You know, who's on whose onus does it lie to prove beyond, you know, the report that indeed he doesn't know this man, that indeed the house he's living in is not complicit?
I have over
it's not
time.
a 40 million naira worth house.
Since this drama started, I've asked a couple of our colleagues some questions. I've said that, look, in the face of this kind of impasse, the Senate is not agreeing. Magu is not willing to let go and say, look, I'll go back to the regular police where I was before this appointment. Then who is the arbiter? Our president, unfortunately, does not appear to have the full grasp of all of these needless intrigues playing out.
Right.
Because...
Hold the thought there. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll continue to look at the second rejection of Ibrahim Magu as EFCC chair by the Nigerian Senate. Stay with Journalist Hangout. Thank you for staying with Journalist Hangout on TVC, and I have my colleagues in the house, Wahid Bakari, Yomiolo Mofe, and Adekunle Yusuf. We've started off looking at the Senate's second rejection of Ibrahim Magu as EFCC chair, and we're asking critical questions. Is it enough for the DSS to stop at just, producing a report indicting Magu? Why not go beyond that to prove that indeed the allegations are true, and then perhaps charges can be filed, and then he can be prosecuted? Let's have Wahid Bakari respond to this.
Yes, the issue they held on to today, just like they did in the past, has to do with the fact that one of his friends, Umar Mohammed, actually paid for his house rent, furnished it lavishly with 40 million naira. And the man in his defense, Magu in his defense, said, look, there are reporters here. I took them even up to my bedroom to look at how lavish it was furnished. If a sitting room or an apartment is lavishly furnished, I think at our level we should be able to know. We have an idea of how much they sell things in the market.
Absolutely.
And the same man now said, look, the owner of the house is even Dora Akili. whose son was staying in the house. It was when the young man, according to him, was
moved over to the US.
Moved out to the US and needed money, to support himself over there. That was when they put up the house for rent. It doesn't require rocket science to find out who the owner of the house is. Instead of all this
simple investigation.
Now we have 2 reports signed by the same person, containing almost the same allegation, but with 2 different recommendations. One says don't confirm, he's corrupt. The other say go ahead and confirm. Now, on what basis? What are the criteria that you use in picking one over the other? Or is it just that you just decide to pick the one that is convenient for you, the one that you want, that you think can serve your own purpose?
Best serves their purpose.
The whole thing is very nauseating.
Now, Adekunle, you were asking a very critical question earlier about why is the report not just being looked into seriously now, and at the time that it was discovered that he had sensitive documents in his possession and that he had a friendship with this man and he was returned to the police force. Why did Ibrahim Lamode make it a priority for him to return Magu to the EFCC while he was EFCC boss?
Why Lamode returned?
Former EFCC boss.
You see, I think at a point they saw the seriousness with which he does his work, and Magu was one of the early people that were recruited by Nuru Badu at the time. So many of them know what each person can do. So I think that's it. But my concern is this DSS report. When the DSS report first came out with 2 reports, no heads, nobody was disciplined.
Nobody was sanctioned.
No questions were asked that why will an organization that is being funded by by the public should be misleading the public? Because I believe this is a misleading information from the DSS. I want to ask, who screens the head of DSS before it becomes the DG? Now that the DSS must screen everybody. Then now when they have done it, at the time the presidency should have called the DSS to order or sanctioned some people. That do you know what it means for your image to be doing these 2 reports the same day, the same organization on the same issue?
Signed by the same person.
Signed by the
but
same
with
person.
2 different recommendations. We have Abdul. Hello, Abdul.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I want to appreciate you people for the good work you people are doing over there.
Thank you very much.
Our heart is bleeding at the moment because the Buhari government, we voted, we struggled, we fasted, we conversed for him to be our president, to come and fight for the common man on the street. Is losing the grip of this government, and it's unfortunate. His wife came up about a year ago, earlier, about a month ago, and said, my husband is not in control. Is he not showing now? Where? See, it is well with all of you there. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
I was trying to say that when you look at what is happening, because no questions were asked in December, because nobody was sanctioned in December, now something similar has happened. The tradition in Nigeria is that the president of Nigeria cannot nominate you for office unless you are past the screening test. And everybody knows that. On this issue, they are trying to turn the tradition on its head.
Exactly.
And it's so worrying that the presidency seems quiet in all of this. And if you sacrifice Magu on this, because of this, believe me, that's the end of the anti-corruption war of this administration. Because what he's been able to do so far, there is no law that said that the man that will head EFCC must be a saint from heaven. And those people that are calling his own integrity into question, none of them can pass the so-called integrity test they are talking about.
That's a very strong view there.
None of them.
And I agree. And I agree absolutely.
Look at the list of people in the Senate that are facing
we can do up to 10 on our fingertips.
From Dariye, Yerima, Danjuma Goje, Abdullah Adamu, Abdulaziz Yaku, all of them, including the leaders of the Senate. So those are the people, And all these cases are being handled by the
They will quote the
EFCC.
same report to point the same accusing finger to Magu, which they are doing right now. Now, if indeed, the Senate's antagonism aside, but if indeed this DSS report holds any weight, carries any weight, can the hands that fight corruption be soiled? And in the same vein, why is the presidency, representing Magu, despite the fact that this DSS report persists, pushing for him to become confirmed as the EFCC boss? Well,
on the one hand, we're all here, we're all witnesses to how the presidency cleared Magu by the instrumentality of the body that presidency requested to investigate. That's the Office of the Attorney General. And they said they gave him a clean bill of health. So if the president appears or seems convinced that the report of the Attorney General is good enough for Magu to be represented, I see no reason why not. But having said that, if there are established, verifiable facts alluding to the inability, of Magu to head that, they should be put forward beyond all of this showmanship they're doing in the Senate. The person, Dino Melaye read paragraph 14 of one report. Is that enough for Nigerians? They need to tell Nigerians that having discovered that Magu is the owner of this and this and this and this and these properties, proceeds of either corruption or something, or he has so and so traced to him proceeds of corruption, and on that basis he cannot be put forward. They are not saying all of that. The DSS is also not helping matters. The DSS is headed by a person close to the president, from what I hear, Daura. Now, is Daura saying that report...
But the DSS report has not aligned with the presidency, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is he saying that he's aware of that report, he's sending it to the Senate, without putting the president on his toes? That, look, sir, your excellency, this fellow has this and this and this and these issues hanging over him. Do I proceed? I mean, this is what I expect of a cohesive executive arm.
So, can the presidency's own investigation be trusted, or in this case, are we hearing the voice of Peter and the hand of Paul?
Well, this has brought a sort of a moral burden on the presidency. How they also realize that, we have a situation whereby the president said that our own investigation, we discovered that this man is not corrupt, has been alleged. In view of that, we are giving him a clean bill of health that should go ahead and be confirmed. And another agency under the same presidency saying something.
It's confusion galore.
It's confusing.
But I'm not surprised. This is not the first time that we are going to be having conflicting reports, of sister agency or maybe aides of the president, working at crop purposes. We had that between Emefiele and Adeosun. You remember? Then just last week or 2 weeks ago, you remember what happened between Abike Dabiri and Onyema. You keep wondering, what's the meaning of all this? The same people, the same media hate, the same aides working at crop purposes on the same issue. How do you now expect the international community to take us serious as a nation when you are having all this kind of like Adekunle rightly said, somebody ought to have been sanctioned, because you can't present two reports signed by the same person.
Two contradictory
reports on the same issue.
The same day.
The same day. Which one are we now going to hold on to?
It begs the question.
Exactly.
All right. You're watching Journalist Hangout. When we return, we'll be looking at the options open to the executive in the light of the current circumstances. And still ahead on the Hangout, Nigeria Customs suspends import duties on old vehicles. Details coming up shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Tuesday, the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs, Hamid Ali, met with the Senate President, Bukola Saraki, in a bid to broker peace with the National Assembly. After that meeting, the Nigeria Customs Service suspended the controversial duties earlier imposed on old vehicles. We'll ask the following question just after we finish deliberations on the rejection of Ibrahim Magu as EFCC boss. And my producer was just bringing it to my attention that, again, the Commodore, the retired Commodore that is being alleged to be in a suspicious friendship with Ibrahim Magu, is a member of the board appointed by the presidency to investigate the arms deal. This is another confusing aspect of, this old Magu.
So if it's a shady character, why did the president put him?
There's nothing convincing there because at the floor of the Senate, I think Magu did mention that the only time
that he met him
was when the two of them were appointed as a member of that panel. He said it clear and clear that beyond that, he has no relationship with the man.
So
the information was available.
It's easy to find out, to determine whether indeed Magu had known him for a long time before he became acting EFCC chair.
Not be difficult.
What of if he has known him? The moment you don't do criminal things with anybody, what's the big deal?
Beyond all of this, are we looking at competence? Magu has demonstrated that he has the will to prosecute these corruption fights. Is that counting for anything in this our land? Or it doesn't mean nothing? And this is why I say it takes me back, unfortunately, to the Commander-in-Chief, His Excellency the President. I think time is right for him to put the executive arm in order. There's quite a lot of crisscrossing and conflicting, discordant tunes emanating from the presidency, and it all stems from perhaps the understanding that I'm only accountable to the CNC. And so everybody is thinking they can go individually to report. It's not showing to them that they are projecting the executive arm in a very bad light.
Lack of synergy.
In a light that lacks synergy.
The Minister of National Planning will say we use zero budget, but then the director will say that we don't use zero budget system.
So too many conflicting signals coming out of the executive arm, especially the presidency. And I think President Muhammadu Buhari needs to urgently do something about this. Professor Yemi Osinbajo, between the both of them, they need to really nip all of these unwholesome.
What are the options left now? What are the options left for the presidency now, especially as regards Ibrahim Magu? Should the presidency continue to represent?
Yes, 1 million times.
If the presidency is convinced
for life
that Magu is the one for the
presidency should insist on Magu and continue to represent Magu. I believe President Muhammadu Buhari has one or two things to learn in the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. You need action. There are times people criticize President Obasanjo when he was in power, but you will see some of his attributes now. We need it at this stage. Of course, it's a democracy, but when you look at it deeply, you will say he serves President Muhammadu Buhari right. Because when they were asking some party chieftains that have interest in people that will preside over the National Assembly, he looked the other way. I'm a Democrat, due process. Now he's reaping the result of all that, unfortunately.
Johnson, good evening. Good evening, Johnson.
Good evening. I'm calling from Kaduna.
Welcome, Johnson. Go ahead with your contribution.
Let me start from the last comment from the last speaker. You see, what OBJ did then, we might say, yes, it's resilient, continue to push. Do you know what went behind the door? What went underground before those continue to push submission before confirmation? The present president cannot afford to do that. He will just dent his image if he tries to continue to push something. You see, Obasanjo wouldn't have just been pushing, then they will just go ahead and confirm. Something must have happened on the ground. I don't think the present president will do that to solve his name. That is one. Two, please, you see, it is unfortunate though, but the president should just push ahead and let us get another person. If they say Magu, no. It is not. See, we have many Nigerians that can do that and can do it effectively well. God forbid, should anything happen to Magu now, are we going to say the fight against corruption will just die down like that? Or there's no other human being? Or look at our number in Nigeria. No Yoruba to do this. Magu is doing well. Are we saying there won't be another person that can do better? Let's not just. It's this democracy. That's what is playing out. Let's not just continue to blame this lady. I want to call your attention to something. See the Attorney General, who the president ordered to investigate these people in the executive. He came up with his report clean bill for all of them, including the secretary to the federal government. I lived in Yobe for some time. I still have friends there. Go to Yobe, no single plot of land, not even small plot proportion that was cleared with 200 million naira, and this man is cleared. So if
all right. Thank you, Johnson.
Let me quickly respond to what the man has just said. You know, I think I understand where he's coming from. He's trying to talk about the need for the presidency to lobby the National Assembly before they can do the bidding of the president. You know, but unfortunately, we all know the kind of lobbying that we have been seeing in the past, and it should be a surprise if this present president, who has laid claim to the fact that is not corrupt and is seen not to be corrupt by the majority of Nigerians, now go behind and be giving out maybe money and doing some funny things,
inducing the National
Assembly so that they can confirm his nominee. For me, there is nothing which says that we cannot have another person. But what we are saying is that if you have any concrete evidence to prove that this man is corrupt, it should not be difficult.
Let's have it.
What happens to Magu can also happen to that same person. So what do you do?
Let us see. But for me, I think we have been told that even if the man continue in acting capacity, that will not stop him from doing whatever he's doing. The only thing he's likely to lose is when it comes to the benefit and entitlement. There is difference between a substantive head of EFCC and somebody who was there in acting capacity. Any result of that, if they don't want to confirm me, and the president has so much faith in him, let him go ahead and be doing the work.
If they bring another person, as he suggested, this same gang can also gang up.
Especially if such a person is interested in looking at them.
Because when you look at many of them, they should be distinguished senators of the Federal Republic. But are they behaving like one?
All right, I think we've done justice to this issue. Let's move forward now. I said earlier, following the meeting between the Senate President Bukola Saraki and the Director General of the NCS decided that the service on duties, on vehicles will be suspended. Gentlemen, what does this say about the Nigeria Customs Service?
Well, I think eventually they are beginning to come round to see reason, especially the aspirations of majority of Nigerians. Whatever office in the land that you hold, you are holding it in trust for the people. And so, the greatest good of the people must be paramount in your considerations. I think this is what ought to have played out ab initio. It should have been properly thought out. It should have been widely discussed. And then the timing should also have been a bit more acceptable to the people. How can you say between April the 12th and
March
and,
the 13th.
between March
the 13th.
between March the 13th and April the 12th, the entire Nigerians must go verify that. I see it as a hasty, I've said before, hasty, ill thought out, ill conceived. And then again, you want to look at it. Some of these vehicles we're talking about here, when are we going to advance in this land? Some of these vehicles have 10, 12, 13 years. Some of them are already out of use in their various countries of source.
Origin, yeah.
And then we're coming here to bring up all manners of anti-people law and draconian policies that will inconvenience majority of the people. I don't think that's the way to go. And you see, when you look at it, yes, the roles of, the responsibilities of the Nigeria Customs Service: revenue collection, suppression of smuggling, facilitation of trade. You see, if a people are not on the same page with you, how are you aiming to bring all of these three rules to pass? So at all times, I think the people too bear some considerations, and their consideration should be paramount when policies are being conceived, when policies are about to be implemented, and all of that. Talking about the Comptroller General and the Senate, it brings us again to this impression of people thinking that they are above and bigger than institutions. If you do not wish to wear the customs uniform, you are at liberty to resign. If you do not wear the uniform, how do you motivate the entire workforce of the service? Is it that you are not proud of that uniform? He has advanced, the Comptroller General, Colonel Hamid Ali, retired, had advanced certain arguments that I find very, very, very watery. that you can't wear uniform. The First and the Second World Wars, people wore uniform at the First World War. When the Second World War started, they were, you know, there was need to bring them back. And so they have also cited the precedence of somebody who was in FRSC, who is even superior, who is superior to Ali, who, you know, retired from the military as a Major General, I think, Hanania, and who then was appointed as a Federal Road Safety Corps Marshal. He wore the uniform proudly. It's a way to motivate your followers. Identifying with the institution. You must, exactly. And then if you are so aloof and distant from an institution you are heading, you're only deceiving yourself. People have said he has plugged holes. I have said that he has not plugged no hole because I know that service. And what I know is that these folks can be very enduring. They will beat their time. They will underperform. Productivity will be low. I have said that whatever target is given to the Nigeria Customs Service today,
with the intention to achieve what? They will beat their time.
Beat their time until the fellow leaves the stage. The service is 100 and how many years old? It's an enduring institution, and it's not about only one person. So now that Colonel Hamid Ali retired is there, I think it's important that he explores synergy with the larger members of the service. And I think he'll be doing that by demonstrating that he actually loves the job he has been given and wearing the apparatus of identification. If I see him on the road, maybe for some of the physical attributes, you know, I may not know him. But if he appears in the uniform of the service, he immediately is identified. There are a lot of plus that you can look at. I don't think it's enough that having served as a colonel and haven't left the Nigerian Army as a colonel, you cannot now wear the rank if you didn't head the Nigerian Army.
Now, one of the aims of that order imposed by the NCS boss was to check smuggling. We'll look at how better the service can do that without asking, you know, the generality of the people to pay duties on vehicles that they've been using for a long time. You're watching JH. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us on Journalist Hangout, reaching you from TVC. And we've been looking at the order by the NCS for duties to be paid on vehicles. Now, one of the aims was to check smuggling. Is this, you know, putting the cart ahead of the horse? Isn't smuggling ought to have been checked at the point where the vehicles were coming into the country in the first place?
Well,
and how better can the NCS...
You cannot 100% stop smuggling. It has not been achieved anywhere in the world, but you can suppress it extensively. Now, to suppress it extensively, and this is where I expect management of the Nigeria Customs Service to really focus, beef up all the entry points, get into some scientific enforcement systems, electronic surveillance and all of that, things that will trigger certain alerts, so that people ahead will have been alerted of, yes, you know, we're not looking at all of these scientific approaches to, you know, smuggling support. We're not looking at how our borders can, you know, if they need to recruit more men to man the border. We know we have a vast borderline. The mass is much, but they just need to begin to think proactively along these lines, rather than begin to, you know, bring policies that will inconvenience, that will aggravate the people already living in hardship.
Wahid, can a service perceived to, you know, be corrupt in itself, benefiting from some of these things that happen at the borders, can it effectively check smuggling?
I will have a situation whereby, you know, the government allow vehicles to be brought, you know, through the land and still go ahead to charge whatever duties they want to charge on
popular view.
You know, because I foresee a situation whereby with this development now, they have knowingly or unknowingly enriched some people. It will interest you to know that the majority of those who serve in custom and other security agents, they prefer to be posted to the border because they know what goes on at the border. You know, as we speak, I'm very sure on a daily basis, only God knows the number of vehicles that are being brought in through the land borders.
In spite of the ban on importation.
Because the only thing is that as long as you are able, you are ready to part with some money, they will give you free passage. So who is deceiving who? The government should have seized the opportunity to say, okay, bring it through the border, but we are going to collect certain amount of money from you. As a result of that, they will be able to generate a lot of money through that, instead of allowing few people who are corrupt. There are cases whereby if people are being moved from, I've experienced that in the past, you know, somebody was there for so many years, after a while he was posted out of the place. You know, after some months, the guy came back to the place, and yes, he did confess that, look, this is the juicy place. For it will be foolhardy on the part of anybody to leave this kind of juicy environment and go and be doing one year office work there. And don't be surprised that most of our guys, you know, they get something in return. So if you are the good type, you are the one that usually bringing something for them, you can be there for as many years as possible. So who is deceiving who?
Adekunle, what are your thoughts on this? So is there any hope to check smuggling if this is the case?
Well, you know, people have attributed a lot of success to Colonel Ali, that he has done this, he has done that. Corruption is still in customs. How many holes has he plugged? He has plugged all the holes, he has blocked all this. Believe me, corruption is still endemic in the Nigerian Customs Service. Then they should stop punishing Nigerians for their own inefficiency. Oh, Nigerians should go and do this. Like, the other day, I think they invaded a place where they said they saw rice. I think Songwater.
Not only
it was a discovery of armored tanks.
That became a big issue that the old residents had to rise up against Nigerian customs, you know, men. Believe me, in what country do they do that? Where were you when they brought in these items? So you have to be going searching people's homes, people's shops. No,
there's a law. They say they have a law in their SEMA that allows them to come to, if they suspect that you have uncustomed goods in your premises, they have the SEMA. Yes, SEMA is there, it allows them, but they should also be prepared to explain to Nigerians what they were doing when those things found their way into people's homes.
Precisely. We have Mike. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, you're welcome to Journalist Hangout.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to contribute to what you are saying. My worry is that it seems we are not really at alert. What you said on Friday is alarming to me because I believe it could be a subtle testing of waters, ideological testing of waters. You know, there are some people who do not believe that we need democracy, that a dictatorship is the way to go, and that they can lobby to other people without showing us any evidence of what they've been able to achieve individually in their own lives. You see, intimidation is all about you being very enough when others who are more civilized keep quiet. If all of us knows who are blatantly trying to paper over these things are not careful, those of us in the majority will pay the pay. So let us all follow due process. Procedure is very, very important. It's as important as the goal. So that's why there's constitution, that's why there's law. So if you are above your institution, if you are above the principles that have been properly set out to level up everybody, then something is wrong. We don't need all these things that happen in Saudi Arabia or some other places where one man will be above the whole society. So that is the issue. There's no pretense. All these people telling us that Obasanjo did not cause anything. Some other countries that are around us are moving forward. The Republic got GSM before us. All these kind of elementary things will come here, and then maybe some people have their own agenda, which they are pushing stylishly.
Thank you very much, Mike, for your contribution. We're talking about due process there and about how one individual cannot be more powerful than an institution. Now, gentlemen, what about the more all-important concern about expressed by the senators about why they were summoning the customs boss, which is his refusal to report to the Minister of Finance? And we know that The NCS is one of the
it's directly under
generating
the Ministry
that
of
even
Finance.
generates one of the highest amounts of non-oil revenue.
Yes.
It's supposed to be the we have advanced all of these for several decades. Second largest revenue earner, or the largest revenue earner after oil, as the case may be. But you see here, if the Senate wants to really look at the issue the way it should be looked at, I think, just like we said about screening before even appointment as in acting capacity, the Senate should have, before now, they should have taken steps to ask the Comptroller General of Customs reasons why he goes to work every day. He feels good being the only man in colored dress amongst uniformed people. It's a bit weird to me, really and truly.
You feel strongly about that?
The Senate has handled, they have, confronted him on this in the past. And at a point, I think it generated into a big issue that some of the senators walked out.
And that's wrong.
That was some months ago. So what people should know is that people like Colin Ahmed Ali should know that the military that he's so much proud of is a creation of the Nigerian people. Yes. The Nigerian customs is a creation of the Nigerian people. If he is so happy to be addressed as CG, he should not be ashamed to wear the
uniform of a CG.
That is apart. Then other issues like not reporting to this or not taking. Why does he enjoy the image of somebody people will see as arrogant? I don't think he will like it. But his utterances, his everything suggests that he is arrogant. And the Senate has lost it as far as I'm concerned. Just as the issue of Magu. This is a man who has ridiculed the entire institution very well. And behind the scene, he entered into the Senate president and they talked. You should have said, no, you come and face the entire Senate. The institution of the Senate wants to meet you, not the president of the Senate. But before you know it, so when I saw the news yesterday, I said, this man will not go to that Senate again. I haven't been given the opportunity to meet Saraki behind the nose. He will never go there again. He will just be given it. So today when I said, I said it.
Nobody have said. I think they said is to appear before them tomorrow.
Today.
Let's have your thoughts on his refusal to report to the finance minister.
I think they have given him till tomorrow, to report. This is the first time that we have a situation whereby the Director General of Customs will refuse to report to the finance minister. It has never happened in the history of this country. And it would be a dent on the image of the president, and you begin to ask, why is this so? Is it because the finance minister is a woman? That's why you are finding it difficult. It boils down to how arrogant the man is.
More importantly, this is something that has to do with a lot of money.
Yes.
Reporting line is critical where finances are concerned.
And we are talking of a situation whereby we said we should have TSA. So
if he doesn't report to the Minister of Finance, then who does he report to? Who is the accountable to?
It shows that perhaps I just hope the president is not condoning him. If not, it's not difficult for the president to say, look, this is the way things also have been done, and you're not doing it that way. Go and do it the normal way. Why is it difficult?
Why is it difficult?
If he's too big to do the right thing, then let him quit. We are talking of a country where we have over 180 million people.
And that's a conservative estimate. If he will not report to the Minister of Finance, he will not go to Senate in uniform. Then Nigerians are just subjects of the entire Nigerians are his subjects. For me, this is what it translates to. If your supervising ministry, you don't see yourself as accountable to your supervising ministry, if an independent institution, a venerated independent institution like the Senate, asks you to come in uniform, and even if for the purpose of just those few minutes of appearance, you say you're not going to go there, I believe that Nigerians need to pursue this to some more.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yomi Olomofe. Thank you very much. Waid Bakari, thank you very much. And Adekunle Yusuf, thank you for your time and thoughts on Journalist Hangout. A lot of things have come out on the program today. Integrity and character factors germane to combating corruption. And of course, no individual is greater than any institution. That's my take home today. I wonder what yours is. Whatever it is, join us again same time tomorrow for another interesting edition of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.